There is a force inside you, quiet, invisible, relentless, shaping every moment of your life while you're barely aware of it. It does not ask for permission. It does not wait for the perfect time. It does not pause when you feel tired or uncertain. It simply works, day after day, thought after thought, decision after decision. And whether you control it or ignore it, it is building your future. That force is your mind. Most people never take ownership of it. They treat their thoughts like weather, something that just happens, a bad mood. That's just how I feel. Doubt, maybe I'm not good enough. Fear, maybe this isn't for me. And slowly, without realizing it, they surrender control. They let circumstances lead. They let emotions decide. They let habits repeat. And then they wonder why nothing changes, because life does not change when you wish it to change. Life changes when you decide to change the way you think. Look closely at the world around you. Two people face the same storm. One breaks, the other builds. Two people experience failure. One stops, the other grows. Two people start with nothing. One creates opportunity, the other waits for it. The difference is not luck. The difference is not timing. The difference is control over thought. Because every action you take, every habit you build, every result you experience starts as a thought, a single idea, accepted, repeated, believed. Your mind does not care if a thought is true. It only cares if it is repeated. Repeat doubt long enough, and it becomes belief. Repeat fear long enough, and it becomes identity. Repeat limitation long enough, and it becomes reality. And once it becomes reality in your mind, your life begins to reflect it. That is why most people feel stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they have trained their mind to expect less. They wake up and feed their mind distraction, scrolling, comparing, reacting, absorbing noise that weakens their focus, and then they try to perform at a high level with a low-level mindset. It doesn't work. It never will. Because you cannot create a powerful life with a weak mental foundation. If you want to change your life, you must first change what you allow into your mind. Because what enters your mind shapes your thoughts. What you think shapes your actions. And your actions shape your destiny. Think about the men who built empires from nothing. They were not born with certainty. They were not handed clarity. They were not guaranteed success. But they had something most people never develop: mental command. They chose their thoughts, even when circumstances were against them, even when the world doubted them, even when failure seemed more likely than success. They held a vision and refused to let go. That is the difference. They did not react to life. They directed it. Your mind is not meant to be a place of confusion. It is meant to be a place of command, a place where decisions are made, where direction is set, where identity is formed. But that only happens when you take control. Because if you don't decide what to think, your environment will decide for you. If you don't choose your beliefs, your past will choose them for you. If you don't direct your focus, distraction will steal it from you, and slowly, silently, you will be shaped by forces you never intended to follow. This is how average is created, not by lack of opportunity, but by lack of control. You were not meant to live like that. You were not designed to react. You were built to decide. But decision requires clarity, and clarity requires silence. Most people never slow down long enough to think. They are constantly consuming, reacting, moving, but never directing. And without direction, your mind becomes scattered. A scattered mind cannot build a focused life. You must become still enough to hear your own thoughts. You must become aware enough to question them. You must become disciplined enough to replace them, because not every thought deserves to stay. Some thoughts were given to you by fear. Some were shaped by past failure. Some were absorbed from people who never believed in you. And if you don't challenge them, they will define you. This is where your power begins, not when life becomes easier, but when you become stronger than your thinking. When doubt appears and you refuse to accept it. When fear speaks and you move anyway. When uncertainty rises and you stay focused. That is control. And control changes everything. Because once you begin to control your thoughts, you begin to control your emotions. And once you control your emotions, you begin to control your actions. And once your actions are controlled, your results become intentional. Nothing is accidental anymore. Everything becomes directed. This is where discipline is born, not from force, but from alignment. You begin to act in ways that match who you are becoming, not how you feel in the moment, because feelings are temporary. But identity is powerful. If you identify as someone who quits, you will find reasons to stop. If you identify as someone who struggles, you will expect difficulty. If you identify as someone who is not ready, you will delay action. But if you decide that you are focused, disciplined, relentless, your behavior begins to change. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. And once identity shifts, everything else follows. That is why the greatest minds in history focused on belief first, before results, before recognition, before success. They built the internal world before the external one appeared. They saw possibility before evidence existed. They believed before results confirmed it. And that belief guided their actions, which eventually created outcomes that others called impossible. But it was never impossible. It was just unseen until someone believed it into existence. Your life works the same way. If you can see it in your mind clearly enough and hold that vision long enough, your actions will begin to align with it. You will start noticing opportunities. You will start making better decisions. You will start taking consistent action. Not because something outside changed, but because something inside did. And that is how transformation begins. Not with massive action, but with a single decision. I will no longer let my circumstances control me. From that moment forward, everything changes because now you are not reacting to life, you are directing it. And when you direct your mind, you direct your future. Because the truth is simple, you either command your mind or you are commanded by everything around you. There is no middle ground. And the moment you truly understand that, you step into a different level of existence, a level where you are no longer waiting, no longer hoping, no longer blaming, but building. Building with intention, building with clarity, building with control. And once that begins, there is no limit to what you can create, because a controlled mind is the most powerful force on earth.